interference of sound waves. As I've demonstrated before, when you have two or more sound sources, you can have interference between those sound sources. So if I have a source over here, if I have a source over here, the waves from this source is going to advance forward. The waves from here are going to advance forward like that. Those are the areas of compression. Those are the waves that are going from this source. And the waves that are going from this source are also going to be similar. So the waves are going from here and the waves are going from here. Now these black lines that I've drawn are the compressions, right? The compression. So what is the distance between this compression and this compression? Lambda. The distance between one compression and the next compression is lambda, so that is lambda. Now I'm going to draw between those compressions, I'm going to draw an expansion with a different color. So here is the expansion. And the same with this, for this one. I know it's kind of messy, but I've drawn all the waves. Now what is the red one standing for? Expansion. What is the black one standing for? Compressions. So what will happen if one compression falls on another compression? Is it constructive or destructive? Constructive. What if one expansion falls on another expansion? Constructive. Right? So look at this. Can you see the red and red merging together? So it's constructive. Black and black merging together, constructive. So this is constructive, 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 constructive. So this is a line of constructive. Yeah.
I'm sorry, did we say the red is expansion?
Red is the expansion and the black is compression. So when red and red merges or the black and black merges, it should be constructive. So this is a zone of constructive interference. Now look at this one. Black and black, red and red, black and black, red and red, black and black, red and red, black and black. That's also constructive. And look at this way. Black and black, red and red, black and black, red and red, black and black, red and red, black and black. That's also a line of constructive. Now, between these two, can you see this red and black merging together? Red is for expansion, black is for compression. So what will happen there is destructive. So this is a destructive interference. Destructive interference, destructive interference, destructive, 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 destructive. So this line is destructive. Similarly here, destructive, 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 destructive. Destructive interference there. And you can see that there is a sequence of constructive and destructive. You can see destructive again here. You can see destructive there. So what are you going to see, or what are you going to hear, if you walk by like that? If you're walking by at this point, you'll hear destructive interference. That means faint sound. Over here it will be louder sound. Faint again. Loudest. Faint. Loud. So why are these sound intensities changing at different points? Because these two sources are sending waves, and at different points they meet constructively and sometimes they meet destructively, and that's what causes interference. You get it? This is called interference. The two waves producing constructive and destructive. A consequence or something that works on interference is beats. What's beats? Beats are the headphones. Beats is a phenomena of sound that's caused by interference. So what exactly is happening is this. If I create one sound, and that sound is going to move, right? Now if I create another sound which is slightly different in frequency, then what will happen is now there are two waves going. They are slightly different in frequency. Because they are slightly different in frequency, sometimes they may merge, and sometimes they go opposite. It depends on where they are. Look at this. So if I send two waves, this is one wave, this is one wave. That's one wave I send through a medium, sound wave. Then I send another wave through the same medium. This is the next wave. I have to draw this. I've drawn two waves right there. Can you see over here that crest and crest are building up here at this point? So this point is constructive. Keep watching. Look at this point. Look at this one. One's crest and the other one's trough are meeting. So that is destructive. So that's constructive, then that's destructive, and that's constructive again, right? And then that is destructive again. And then that is constructive again, and that is destructive again, and constructive again, destructive. You see it? So some places it constructs, some places destructive. Why is it happening? It's happening because there are two frequencies. There is frequency F1 and there's frequency F2 going in the same place. So what will happen to you when you're hearing these waves? Sometimes this is what reaches your ears, so it is loud. And sometimes this is what comes to your ears, and so it's kind of faint. And again, the next one comes in. So it's all coming to you, but it's coming with different intensities. We call this waxing and waning. We call this waxing and waning. So the sound goes waxing and waning. Waning means going down. Waxing means going up in intensity. So the sound intensity will fluctuate. And that fluctuation is called beats. So we say we are hearing beats. What you're hearing is ups and downs in sound. Ups and downs in sound. And how fast is it going to go up and down is called beat frequency. And beat frequency is given by the difference between F1 and F2. It's the difference between F1 and F2. That's called beat frequency. Beat frequency is the difference between F1 and F2. It is not subtraction. It could be one minus the other, right? So whichever is bigger minus the other. I'll demonstrate that right now. Very should work. Gosh. When I put this little material right there, I'm making it heavier. The tuning fork is now heavier, so will the frequency be higher or lower? Now this is the original frequency. Lower. Can you see that? It's a lower pitch. Why is it lower? Because it's heavier, right, Chris? Look at me. Okay. This is the lower frequency. This is a higher frequency. Now if I kind of move it down, I'm not making it too heavy, because if this part on the top is heavy, then the frequency becomes really affected. But if I put it at the bottom, it's not greatly different. It's slightly off. But when it's slightly off, and if I strike both of them together, see what you hear. Now that's alone. That's alone. Now when I strike both. Do you hear something weird? Again. Is it going up and down? And that is waxing and waning. What you're hearing is sometimes those are constructive and sometimes they are destructive, and so you're hearing ups and downs. See? Now each one is hearing differently because you're at different locations. So for one of you, if it is constructive, for another one it may be destructive. So what you're hearing is entirely different individually. Put that away. Now what will happen if I make the frequency way different? Now this is way different. What will happen to the beat frequency? You see that? It's faster. The beat frequency has become faster. So the first time I had this one, I had the first one, F1 was 256 Hertz, and the second one was, well, it's the other way around. F2 is 256 Hertz, and the F1, because I made it heavier, it became 250 Hertz. So what is F1 difference F2? 6 Hertz. So 6 ups and downs you're hearing in 1 second. So like this. 6 of these you're hearing in 1 second. That's approximately what I'm putting down there. Now, the more different these frequencies are, you're going to have more number. See, I'm making it more different. Here, totally different. You can see how fast it is. It's almost like 10-15 Hertz. When I make it still bigger difference, it'll be too fast. It's too fast. You can't resolve it. You can't understand like where it is. Right? So it's almost like it's too fast. And when I reduce it, it's got slower. It's got further slower. It sounds kind of weird, right? Although it's just one frequency that's coming through. It's just one sound, or this one. This is one sound. But when it comes to you together, it makes it go up and down, waxing and waning. The number of times it does like this per second is called beat frequency measured in hertz. Musicians, when they tune their instruments, this is what they try to do. One of them presses one of the keys and the other one kind of tunes his instrument to hear no beats. Because when he hears no beats at all, that means it's tuned. So this means it's out of tune. So you tune it more and more. Almost tuned. See, you can kind of feel that it's going up and down. That means the frequency is almost 1 hertz. That means you got close. So people who are tuning the piano and other instruments, they do this by hearing. They look for they hear the beat frequency. And when the beat frequency is completely gone, so when the beat frequency is completely gone, it'll be like flat. Either it is totally constructive or totally destructive. That's called beat frequency. Do you understand this part? Clear? Now, you have seen this beat frequency sort of concept at some other locations, some other places. To say where it is, imagine you are at a stoplight. Imagine you are at a stoplight. You stop your car. You have put your blinkers on, right? You know, your indicators on. So your left indicator is ticking like tick, 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 tick. And you don't have anything else to do. You're looking at the car in front of it. And the car in front also has the blinkers going on. And if you are just curious, just watch them together. You'll see that they're both, sometimes they go like, when yours is on, the other one is off. And if you keep watching, after some time, it both together comes on. Like, it goes like this. First it comes on together. And then it goes off. And they're totally opposite. And again, after some time, they're both together again. And again, they go off. And if you, like you have ample time there to spend at the stoplight, you can actually see it going up and down and up and down. That's also beat frequency. Now, in terms of a swing, think about a swing the same way. Imagine there's one swing, swinging with the frequency. What decides the frequency of swinging? What controls the frequency of swing? The length, right? You did the pendulum lab. The length controls this frequency. Now imagine there are 2 swings in a park. Now those 2 are slightly fractionally off in length. So what will happen is, you'll see 2 people swinging. And initially you'll find they're both going together. But very soon you'll find one of them kind of takes the lead. And then they'll go opposite. And after some time again, they just go together. Have you noticed it? These are things that you should notice when you go to a park, not just play. So you should be able to watch this beat frequency concept right there. So initially they'll go together, and then they go opposite, and then they'll go together again. When they go together, we call it in phase, at the same angle. And when they go opposite to each other, anti-phase, opposite, totally opposite phase. All right, that's beat frequency. The next concept is Doppler effect. Have you heard about Doppler? What's Doppler? Where have we heard the Doppler? Sirens?
Radar. The radar.
Doppler radar?
Weather.
What's radar standing for? What does RADAR stand for? Now, what is RADAR? It's not one word. RADAR stands for radio detection and ranging. Radio detection and ranging, you can estimate how far and things like that. Right? And you can use lasers to do the same thing. You can. What is the laser standing for? LASER. It's not again one word. Light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. That's what it is. Laser. So what is Doppler effect? And why Doppler effect? Doppler effect is used in weather, right? Doppler radars, and the Doppler is used in medicine, like Doppler scanning. So what exactly is this Doppler effect? You write down something. the apparent change in frequency, the apparent change in frequency, the apparent change in frequency of a source due to the relative motion between the source and observer, due to the relative motion between the source and observer. It's called Doppler effect. It's called Doppler effect. Let me draw these things and show you exactly how to understand this. Now let's say there is an observer standing here. Observer means, of course, the one who's going to hear, okay, not just see. And suppose there's a source here. If the source is giving off waves, here goes the waves. These are the waves going from the source to the observer. What is the space between each of these waves? It's a lambda, which is the wavelength, right? At what speed are these waves going forward? Wave speed, V. How many waves are generated per second? It's called frequency. What's the relationship between V, F, and lambda, Chris? What's the connection between V, F, and lambda? Huh?
V, F, and lambda.
What is the relationship between V, F, and lambda? Yeah, go ahead. V is equal to F lambda. That's a very important equation in all waves. When you're talking about waves, if you don't know that equation, that's a very serious thing. V is equal to F lambda. You can see all the stuff that we're doing starts off with that equation. That's why I did that equation first. V is equal to F lambda. So, now let's go to the observer. Is the observer receiving these waves? At what speed? At the same speed. At what frequency? At the same frequency. And at what wavelength? At the same wavelength. Therefore, the frequency heard by the observer is V over lambda. The same frequency as what is sent by the source. Correct? So if I'm sending a wave to you like that, I'm the source. I'm creating a frequency of 256 hertz, and you are the observer. You're hearing these waves coming to you at what frequency? 256 hertz. Why? Because the speed is the same and wavelength is the same. You get it? So the frequency as heard by you is exactly going to be the same. Now, when is it going to be different? Suppose the source is not staying still. If the source is going to move as it emits the sound. If I'm going to emit the sound like this, then I'm not moving. But if I'm creating compression after compression, but I'm moving. If I'm moving, the waves are going to be completely messed up. So here is the new diagram for a wave that's moving. The source was here when the first wave was generated. Where's the first wave? The first wave is here. So the source was there when the first wave was generated, correct? But, so this wave was generated when the source was here. But is that source going to stay still? No, the source is going to move. So because the source is going to move to a new location, the second wave was generated from a different location, from here. So this is the second wave generated from here. The third wave generated from there. The fourth wave generated from there. Can you see the center is changing? So what's happening here is The source was here when the first wave was generated, but the source is moving forward with a speed of Vs. The source is moving. When the source is moving with the speed Vs, what is the consequence? What is the consequence? The consequence is the waves are getting compressed on the side, which means the wavelength is going to be small here, and the wavelength over here is bigger. So because the source is moving in that direction, it compresses its own wave. So the wavelength is shorter, and the wavelength here is bigger. Now let's go to the observer. At what speed are these waves approaching him? Is this the same speed or different speed? Same speed. Is the wavelength that is intercepted by the observer the same or different? It's different. It's a smaller wavelength. You see it? It's small. So therefore, the new wavelength is a smaller wavelength. So since this is smaller, what will happen to the frequency? The new frequency is bigger. So the frequency f prime is v over the new wavelength. The frequency is going to be v over lambda because the wavelength has changed. So the frequency has gone up. Now imagine there is another observer here. What is the frequency as heard by him? Same speed, but what is the wavelength? Larger wavelength. And so the frequency f prime is small. And this one, f prime, is higher. So the frequency changes. Why should the frequency change? It's because of the change in the speed. It gives you one sound, but when I move it, is it kind of changing? Just that. It's just little movement. It's going to change the frequency. There's a difference. Just because I'm changing moving it. When I'm moving it, I'm changing the frequency. The original frequency is still intact. But just because it is moving, you create higher and lower. I'm going to spin this. So in case it flies to you, take it. I mean, catch it. Don't just like sit there and receive it. It is pretty tough. It should not go. Now, the first thing it's going to tackle is my own Mac. So I don't want this to go off, but hopefully it won't go off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it. I'm creating the thing sound, and then after that I'm going to spin it. So when I spin it, this is what you should be observing. When this thing is moving that way, it is moving towards you, right? What pitch are you supposed to hear? High or low? High. And when this thing is going away from you, it should be low. So it should be high and low. So yeah, keep a book or something like that in case it flies to you, so that you can just dodge it. Don't just like think that nothing can happen. I'm not responsible for any damages, okay? Most of you are kind of worried and, you know, like you're not focusing on the frequency. Did you hear the frequency going up and down? Okay. Did you hear it up and down? Again. Okay. Anyway, now you can be relaxed. So the frequency goes up and down, and what causes the frequency to fluctuate? What is it? Doppler effect. The frequency changes are taking place because of Doppler effect. Now, where is this Doppler effect used? One very common usage is cops. How do they check your speed? So they send waves to your car. Now, if your car is not moving at all, that means the waves will bounce from your car and comes back to his instrument with the same frequency. So if he sends one frequency, that should be the same frequency that bounces back and comes back. But if you are moving, If you're moving, then what happens is the frequency is going to be affected. The wavelength is going to be affected. So if you are moving towards him, the frequency intercepted, the reflected frequency intercepted by his instrument will be higher. And his instrument is calibrated to convert that frequency increment to speed increment. It's calibrated. And therefore he shoots the waves at your car, and since your car is moving, and he can see how fast you're moving actually. So he reads it out in speeds. He doesn't have to sit and calculate. You will do the calculations in the next class, how to calculate it. But well, that's the equation. We're going to use that equation, but I'll show you how the calculations go. So the cops use this concept. Now, if you're moving away from him, doesn't matter. The frequency is going to drop. The same drop is going to be dependent on the frequency. So the instrument is calibrated to read the speed difference. Now, can it come from a cop that is behind you, traveling with you? Yes. So if you're driving at 85 miles per hour, there can be a cop behind you at 85 miles per hour, and his car is connected to the instrument. Therefore, it reads the difference. And therefore, if his instrument reads no change in frequency, that means you're driving ahead the same speed as him. So he can read your speed no matter which way he is going. Suppose a cop's car is going in the opposite direction and you're going this direction, he can still read your speed. So we think sometimes, like, oh, I'm going on this lane, that cop is going the other way. Maybe he's not able to read me. No, he can. He can read you. And the only thing is he has to go and take a turn and come back. It may take a little while. Or he can pass that information to somebody else. Right? Because not always, they can chase you down. In fact, 2 weeks back, someone was caught on 64 driving a motorcycle. You know at what speed? 170 miles per hour. 170 miles per hour. He was driving at 170, in fact, 100 over the limit. He was driving 100 over the limit, and cops were not able to chase him because you have to go at that speed to catch him. So they were basically passing on the information to the next ones, and trying to intercept and narrow him down. And that's how he kind of got stuck finally. I don't know if he got really caught or his gas went out. So he was driving crazy at that speed. I don't know what kind of punishment is waiting for him, but finally they got him. So probably they just narrowed down the road where he was going and they just blocked everything up. And so he had no way to go, and then he went out of the road or something like that.